Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we are doing a recap and review of Ready to Love Season 3 Episode 5. The tea is getting good. So if you are new here, smash the subscribe button so you can continue to get quality content. If you like this video, hit the like button, and then if you want to have a conversation, jump down in the comment section, as I like to have a conversation with my subscribers. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. So it starts off with Brian having some conversation with both Chris and Alex, because first of all, he was doing a little jump rope competition with her. But they asked about his date with Alicia, and he said he had a good time, but his thing was making sure he was able to see Alex before turning in for the night. And he was definitely happy about that, and that definitely put a big smile on Alex's face. And you know what? I honestly think that he is more interested in Alex over Alicia, but we'll definitely get into a little bit more of that later. So now we have the scene where we have Denise and we also have Rashid, because Rashid want to address the issue of the whole narcissist comment. And of course, this is a comment that was brought up by Adriana. And, you know, he definitely asked Denise about that. Denise was like, I didn't say you were a narcissist. I said you had narcissistic traits to me. And he was like, well, you know, I still really can't get past that, because I don't want to even be a part of that conversation when you bring up the whole thing of being a narcissist. And I just think that there's some things that she sees in him, not specifically that he is a narcissist, but it triggers her. But, you know, Adriana definitely put all of this in motion. And, you know, honestly, I don't think it was a good thing to say, you know, especially if somebody triggers you in regards to something you see, and especially to, you know, the group. Of course, it's going to get back to the person. But I'm glad that he was able to have a sit-down conversation with Denise to clear the air on this, because, you know, having Adriana talk to Denise and then Adriana go and talk to Rashid, everybody just needs to be on the same page. I don't know if he accepted her apology, but they seem to be cool at the end. So now we have the sit-down conversation where they're having breakfast, both Naya and Edwin. And Edwin is trying to see if he actually have a connection with her and vice versa. I really do think that there is some form of a connection between these two, and I'm glad that Edwin took that opportunity, because he really wasn't connecting with anybody else. So it's good that he chose to explore this with Naya. Naya brought up some, you know, very interesting things about her life. She lost both her mom and her grandmom in a short period of time. And then she talked about the 4 miscarriages that she had as well. And, you know, the fact that he's a good listener, which was really a standout thing for me with her. I think she appreciated that. And of course, they had that depth in the conversation. So that's why I really do see a connection there. I don't know if it's the same as that she has with Chris. Her connection with Chris is a little bit different, but I think there's some substance when it comes to, you know, the connection that both Naya and Edwin have together. And she seemed pleasantly surprised, and I'm glad that, you know, she, as I said, she thought as well to take the opportunity to get to know Edwin a little bit more. I mean, guys, let me know down in the comments what you think about this possible new connection. So now we actually have several of the members, Chris and Winter, Alicia, Joy, all sitting around having a conversation about pretty much everything that's going on in the house. And then we have Alicia bringing up what happened on last episode with Brian coming to her room and was supposed to come back. He never came back, but she found out with hanging with Shae, who's the busybody of the group, that he had went back to Alex's room for, you know, a good night kiss. And she was upset about that, and I can understand why she could be. But like I said in previous episodes, this show is to see who you have the better connection with, because there's an elimination process. It's kind of like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, where everybody is trying to compete with another person to get attention. So it's similar in this aspect, kind of like a Bachelor in Paradise, if you remember how all of that go. But she felt that he did her wrong in this situation, so she's definitely not feeling him at this point. And she even asked Chris, hey, what would you do if, you were the guy in this situation? He looked like he was caught off guard. I mean, honestly, he was like, I don't know how to answer that question. It was so funny with his facial expression. So then the tables kind of now turn in regards to Joy and Winter, and when it came to Simone being a part of their conversation, because Winter had about a 3-minute conversation in her room with Jay, and Shae was just egging it on. I mean, Anthony was definitely giving her the side eye on her behavior. But Winter and Joy continue to talk about the fact that Simone went and felt the need to tell Joy what was going on. And, she was like, I don't understand what she was trying to do. Was she trying to get something started? And Winter, her explanation was it was only like 3 minutes. And we wasn't doing anything. We was just having a conversation. And they just didn't like the fact that of how Simone proceeded to do this. And, of course, they asked the guys, and, they were like, at the same token, and Shae, she just being Shae. Honestly, I see why the decision was made about her at the end of the show, but we'll definitely get there. But, like Anthony said, maybe Shae had intentions to cause problems anyway, to do something for herself. Same thing with Simone. So they decided to go and track Simone down so both Joy and Winter can have a conversation with her. And Winter was just straight up with Simone, like, hey, I was only in the room with Jay for just a few minutes. And you felt that it was appropriate to go and run and tell Joy about that. What was the real reasoning behind that? And, the thing is that she was like, yeah, I did it. So at least she admitted to it. But they wanted to know, were you trying to cause problems? Winter thought it was hurtful for her to do that. Joy felt that it was inappropriate as well. And, it was a moment that Simone was like, you know what? Hey, this is why I'm here. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have did that. It was not the right thing to do. I'm learning and growing at the same time. And, it didn't stop there. She was hoping that they would just take her word and, accept her apology. But, Winter definitely decided to go ahead and say, look, this was hurtful. I'm trying to be a sister and a friend, and black women need to stick together and not, step on each other's toes. And you felt the need to cause a rift. I thought we was cool. And she was like, yeah, I thought we were cool. We are cool. And, she decided to break down into this emotional scene where she's crying, and of course, that got everybody else upset. But, the thing is that they actually did the right thing by having a sit down conversation with Simone. They didn't get catty and talk about her behind their back. They addressed the situation as a mature person should do, And I'm glad that Simone actually, owned up to it. I mean, like I said earlier, she got very emotional about her behavior because, of course, she was called to task about it. But they seem to accept her apology. I mean, it definitely, with her getting emotional, it got everybody emotional. I mean, she was crying. Joy kind of got misty-eyed. And then also Winter, she got kind of misty-eyed about everything. It was just a crying fest all of a sudden, until basically Joy was like, can we find some whiskey? or something to kind of calm this mood down. I thought that was so funny. But yeah, she needs to kind of figure out. I know that there are some daddy issues that she talked about when she came on the show. Meaning Simone, whatever those issues are, she needs to figure those things out. So now we have Brian and Chris having a conversation because it did get back to Chris of what happened with Alicia and Alex. And he was like, dude, I thought your F-boy days was over. And he was like, yeah, I know, I should have been honest and everything. Which definitely leads us over to the conversation that Adriana and Alex was having outside along with busybody Shae, who was definitely there for the tea, and she was definitely egging it on, telling Alex exactly what happened. You know, that Brian was supposed to come back to Alicia's room. And of course, Brian is having the same conversation with Chris at the same time. And they're like, yeah, dude. I mean, the general consensus in both scenes was that the fact that Brian just didn't do the right thing. You know, he wasn't honest about where he stood with Alicia. You know, I mean, if he wanted to go and stay with Alex, do that. So Alicia comes over saying, hey, my ears burning or something. Y'all talking about me? And of course they were, but also Brian and Chris is talking about you too. I mean, honestly, they need to hash this situation out, which definitely coming up soon, we shall see. So Alicia decided to take Alex off to the side and have a conversation with her. She was doing all of the talking, saying, you know, hey, he was in the room with me. He told me he was going to come back and watch a movie with me, but he ended up with you and he never came back. He just ghosted me for the night. And Alex is just sitting there listening. She didn't have too much to say. I don't know if part of the reason is that she felt that, hey, this is a competition, it is what it is, or was she just taking the information in. But she said she did feel some kind of way about that. So we now have where Alicia is now wanting to talk to Brian. But before we got there, you know, they had to fill Rashid in with what was going on. And Rashid was like, oh, yeah, you in trouble, dude. You need to go and kind of clean that one up. That ain't too good what you did to Alicia. So Alicia did pull him aside. They did have a sit-down conversation. And, you know, she was like, that wasn't too cool. If you wasn't going to come back to my room, you could have just been honest with me. You didn't have to just tell me what you think I wanted to hear and then go to Alex's room and then stay over there and then come back. You know, and I had to find out from somebody else. And he was like, you know, I'm sorry. I should have been honest and, you know, and told you where I stood. That wasn't the right thing to do. And honestly, I'm glad he took accountability for it. At the same time, these folks are all getting to know each other, but he should not have told her he was coming back. You know, yes, it's early. I think that's what one of the girls or somebody at the table had said. But don't tell somebody something that you know you really don't want to do. And that's what Alicia was like, you know what, I'm done with my, you know, interest in you. It's a wrap. And so it was also so funny, the scene between Calfini and Winter. He had no idea all of this was going on. So she had to fill him in. All right, now we're over to the scene where we have both Jay and Joy, which this was my couple from the beginning. I don't know yet because of how Jay handled the whole thing, but we'll see. I still think that they have a connection. They just need to hash that out. But Joy filled Jay in regards to what had happened with Simone running to tell her about that little meeting that they had in their room. And he was like, are you serious? She decided to do all that? She was like, nah, that ain't what I'm about, you know. So I'm glad that, you know, they kind of cleared the air and nothing was major on that. This crazy scene with Rashid and Shae, she was asking him about his fraternity status because of the tattoo on his arm. And I think he said he was a Kappa. And she was like, oh, I know about them. I think she said one of her exes was, and she was just doing a little too much, kind of over the top, and I mean, it was a pretty interesting scene. I mean, at first he thought it was funny, but like he said in his little confessional, Shae is just he had no explanation for it. But she kept on and laughing, and then all of a sudden she decided in front of Rashid to start dancing, and I think she even tried to break out with a twerk session in front of him. And Chris is looking like, she's a little bit too forward. And I mean, I don't know if she had a little bit too much alcohol. I don't know what time of the day was, or if she's just energetic. I don't know what the situation was with that scene, but I think it was just a little bit too much for him. Now, this particular scene with Winter and Jay, because we're back to them again, she goes all in about her feelings about him and how she's never felt this way before, and how she want to be with a guy that she can truly support and breathe life into. And he's like, wow. And he was like, I got to support my king, and you're a king. And he's just taking it all in. Now, my question is, and she says she don't understand why she feel this way so soon. Is she being legit? Or is she trying to solidify a spot with Jay over Joy? I don't know. I mean, she seems to be cool with everything, but it's going to remain to be seen what's going to happen with those two. So let's move over to Calfini and Adriana as they played their version of Connect Four. It's a giant Connect Four. And, I mean, she's just cheesing and kikiing from ear to ear. She has a bubbly personality. Calfini is talking about how he recognizes her physical attributes, and it's different how he described Denise. He describes Denise as being someone that is deep conversations, whereas with Calfini he speaks on her physical attributes. So I'm not saying that there's nothing deeply ran with these two, but it's going to be interesting to see where their connection falls versus his connection with Denise, and she's definitely, it seems that she's feeling him, but the other issue is that Adriana also has an interest in Rashid. So she's towing the line of which direction that she wants to go into as well, because she's definitely attracted to Calfini, and they, he was like, they're talking about their love languages, and she was like, hey, I want the kind of guy that when my back is hurting, you give me a massage like I got you. And he definitely tried to practice that in that moment. So we now have where the conversation lies, where Adriana is talking about the fact, what do I do? Whether she's going to decide between Calfini and Rashid. I honestly think her connection is better with Rashid. Let me know what you guys think. So the guys are now meeting with Nephew Tommy, and he's asking them, he's telling the guys that you have the power this week to send 2 people home. You got to pick 3, but 2 of the 3 girls are going home. And he asked them where their interests lie, and, Jay has interest in Winter, but he also has an interest in Joy too. And then we have Anthony, who has an interest in Denise. We have Rashid, who has an interest in Adriana. We got Brian, who has an interest in Alex, but no longer in Alicia. And then we got Calfini, who also has an interest in both Denise, and he has also an interest in Adriana. So, we got some decisions to be made here on who's going to choose who. And then it came down to Edwin, who has an interest in Chris's girl, Naya, which they definitely had a connection at breakfast. And then Edwin also have an interest in Joy, which we saw that connection last week. And Jay has an interest in Joy as well. The people that they were talking about sending home was, of course, Shae and Alicia. And then there is also Denise that was on the chopping block. And the biggest thing Rashid brought up with Nephew Tommy is this whole thing about the light-skinned narcissist thing, because he's light-skinned and a frat boy. And, Nephew Tommy was like, when are we as a culture going to end this whole colorism thing with the light skin, dark skin thing? So that was definitely an issue. And then, of course, that didn't sit well with Calfini, who's interested in Denise. And he's like, she can't go around saying stuff like that. But it definitely was a topic for discussion amongst the men. And they, at this point, had to choose who was in the bottom three and who was going to be able, be chosen to go home. And like Nephew Tommy said, it's got to be done. So one of the people that was delivering the news was Chris, who was having a conversation about this with Alicia. We had Calfani, who was sitting down with his girl, having a conversation with Denise. And, he took it in stride. He kind of made it think like she was going to be on the chopping block, but we saw otherwise. And then we had Edwin had a conversation with Shae. And honestly, Edwin told her, hey, it's not working out. You're really not making a connection. Some of the guys were put off on some of the things that you were doing and saying. And he said that you're not ready for love, and she got sent home. Calfani, had a conversation with Denise and said, you know what, even though we had some issues, we want you to stay. And of course, she was definitely excited about that. And, we're gonna have you continue to stick around. So Miss Denise gets to stay. And then Chris had a conversation with Alicia about the fact that, she really wasn't having a connection. The whole thing with Brian, didn't work out like she wanted to, and she basically put everybody in the friend zone. And he was like, okay. So of course Chris delivered the news to Alicia that, she's not ready for love and sent her home, but he definitely enjoyed seeing her walk away because she is a very shapely woman. So now we're back after the elimination ceremony, and the women are all sitting around having some conversation about everything that went down and the fact that Alicia was sent home and Shae was sent home. And, she, as in Denise, was like, I got to be more vulnerable and everything. But I don't think her being there set too well with Adriana, because Adriana thought that she was going to be gone because of everything that happened with Rashid, and so now she got to think twice, like, man, I thought I had the guys to Calfini to myself possibly, because I thought she was going to go home. So I'm wondering, I guess, was she trying to not only let Rashid know and put it out there to the group, but I think this was her way of trying to get her eliminated too. Let me know your thoughts. So now we have both Anthony and Denise, and I'm seeing some form of a connection here too, because Anthony kind of wanted to explore what he could have with Denise because of a previous episode conversation where he gave her a foot massage, and he wanted to, see if there's something there with her. And so they decided to, have a little fun together. And I thought this particular scene was really cute. And she was definitely very receptive and open to it. It put a big smile on her face. He was trying to help her play. And then she decided to make a bet that whoever win the game, they got to go skinny dip in the pool. And I guess she thought she was going to win, but of course she lost, which means she got to go skinny dip in the pool. And so he helped her out her clothes, which he definitely had no problem with that. And, of course, she covered up her top half and she decided to jump in the pool. And then, of course, he was like, I like the fact that she's spontaneous with a little bit of, I guess, edge. And, of course, he decided to jump in the pool as well to have some little pool time with Miss Denise. Let me know what you think about this combination, guys. I kind of see a little bit of spark between those two. I don't know about Calfini and her, but I kind of like her with Anthony. So let me know what you think. So this is toward the end of the show where Nephew Tommy meet with the women, letting them know that there's an elimination of the guys coming up. But he also dropped the fact to the ladies that your friends are coming on because your friends are also a good judge of the men that you usually around, and they're going to keep it real and tell you like it is. So we will definitely see next week how that's going to unfold. We got some previews of what's coming up next week, and it's pretty interesting on Naya when they asked Chris about splitting the mortgage, and he was like, oh, we go half and half. And from looking at social media and even looking at Naya's response, people are not happy about that comment, but I'm not going to jump into that until next week because I have my own thoughts about that. I'll wait to see the full episode before I decide to comment on that. So let me know what you guys think. All right, so we're going to do our shout outs. If you want to be shouted out, drop a comment and I will do so. Thanks to Linda Paloma for engaging the channel. We really appreciate it. JJD, thank you so much for engaging in the channel. I really appreciate your comment as well. And last but not least, we also have Pessy Bilal. Thank you as well. And if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and until next week, we'll see you then.